Oh my gosh, Marvita's talking about 112 degrees there where she's at in California.
Yeah, it's a lot, and especially if you're not in an area that gets like we don't get that many really really hot days, so we just don't have air conditioning. So when it's 104 or 112 or whatever, it's a shock to the system, but it's okay. We'll survive. We'll survive. All righty, guys. Well, welcome to Ladies' Night, and I hope everyone's doing well and had a great weekend and having a nice holiday. And hello, Andrea and Debbie.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
guys. Hello, everyone. So
Happy
good to see.
Holiday Monday.
Yeah, you have a holiday as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Labor Day. So, this is the show where we look at three amazing women every week, past and present, and then we do some channeling to talk to them a little bit or tune into what's going on with them if they're still around on this plane. And it's a really really fun show. I think we look, at least I speak for myself, I look forward to it every Monday. It just gives it's such an uplifting start to the week. I think I really miss it when we have to skip weeks. So
Yes.
I really love it. So yeah, so let's get started. So we go in alphabetical order. And with that, I believe it's Andrea first.
Okay. Here we go. This suggestion comes in from one of our viewers, and their name on YouTube is Follow Your Heart. So thank you, Follow Your Heart, for the suggestion of Agatha Christie.
This is a great suggestion.
Yeah,
Great suggestion. Yeah.
Most of you know or have heard of Agatha or have read or seen one of the movies made out of her books, etc. So she was born on September 15th. Oh, that'd be like next week, roughly, in 1890. And she was born Agatha Miller and eventually got married, and we know the last name of Christie. She's also a dame and a lady. Her second husband was knighted. So she's a dame and a lady.
Wow.
So Agatha, she was born into a wealthy upper middle class family in England, in Devon, England. She's the youngest of three, and her older siblings were quite a bit older than her, and she ended up having very few children to play with in the neighborhood, and no one really to play with at home because her sisters were much older. She spent a lot of time playing alone with her pets and or imaginary companions. So a big imagination starting at an early age with Agatha. She did eventually make some friends, and saying that one of the highlights of her existence, of her entire existence, was in an appearance at a youth production of Gilbert and Sullivan's The Yeoman of the Guard, where she played the hero, Colonel Fairfax. So she's going back to childhood to say was one of her greatest highlights of her existence. Isn't that sweet?
Wow.
So according to her mother, it was a belief system that the girl should not read until they were about 8 years old at that time. However, she was a very curious little girl and probably quite smart. And by the age of 4, she was reading. And she was a voracious reader. And she wrote her first poem at the age of 10. It was called The Cowslip. This was in April 1901. So we see, a real love of language, words, dreaming, imagination, all starting out very young age. Unfortunately, her father passed away when she was 11, and she marked that as the end of her childhood. So a significant, painful moment in her time. So really ending the innocence of her life and her childhood. So she went on, she did some schooling, etc. And at 18, she wrote her first short story, The House of Beauty. And she actually wrote this while recovering in bed from an illness. There was about 6,000 words in it about madness and dreams, subjects of fascination for her. And I'm wondering if she had a really high fever while she was writing this. Maybe she was kind of
In the in-between.
well, yeah, and channeling that for the
Yeah,
story, right?
yeah.
She would have been maybe delirious. And then other stories followed, most of them illustrating her interest in spiritualism and the paranormal. So I didn't know that. I really dig that about her, that she was into things that are much bigger than just what we're told, right?
Right.
A few years later, in October 1912, she was introduced to Archibald, known as Archie Christie, at a dance. And he was a Royal Artillery officer. They fell in love really quickly, and after 3 months, they got married. She accepted his proposal within 3 months, so that's really sweet, that part.
And Andrea, I just wanted to point out that yellowish picture with the two of them, that as husband and wife, that is their honeymoon photo. When you look at that, when you can look at it closer, if you it's on Wikipedia, but if you look at it closer, she is just glowing. So you can see that she absolutely was madly in love with him. So anyway, I just wanted to add that little tidbit.
Which shows up a little bit later how much, because something unpleasant happens. So while he was a Royal Artillery officer, she helped in the war effort and became a volunteer aide of the Red Cross, and she did a lot of work for free. And then she totally volunteered her time, etc. And she also did some other work during the time of the war, which is really important because she learned a lot of things that she would write about later in her mysteries and in her novels. So this woman, Agatha, very observant and paid attention to a lot of things, which then you see show up in her books later on. She wrote her first detective novel, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, in 1916, so just a little bit after she got married. It featured Hercule Poirot, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but a very famous character in her books, right? Hercule Poirot. A former Belgian police officer with a magnificent mustache, etc. I'm sure a lot of you know that character. Her inspiration for him was from the Belgian refugees living in her city, as well as the Belgian soldiers she helped treat as a volunteer in the World War. So she's very observant and picks up a lot of things from people. I like that. I don't think much got past her. So as she settled into married life, she got pregnant and gave birth to her only child, a girl, Rosalind, in 1919. Her books were selling well. She struggled at first when she wrote some of her first pieces in her books. Lots of rejection, but eventually there was a yes. So, don't give up, right? You keep going. So then once the first book was selling well, then the next one, things were going great. And in fact, she was invited on a world tour that she went with on her husband, and they left the daughter behind with her mother and her sister. So they went, I think it was about 10 months, they traveled the world. And you can imagine, with her observant mind and eye, all the different types of characters she was picking up. And, she had a real excitement for this trip. So unfortunately, after they got back from the trip, a little while after they got back, her mother passed away in 1926, and they had been really close. And the loss of her mother sent her into a deep depression. In August 1926, reports appeared in the press that Christie had gone to a village to recuperate from a breakdown caused by overwork. So this is when we're going to start to see things going a little sideways for Agatha. So her husband asked for a divorce in that same year, in August, because he'd fallen in love with a lady named Nancy Neely, or Nell, whatever her last name is. So that is two big blows for her in 1926. In December of 1926 of that same year, her and Archie argued so badly about him wanting to go away with his friends and her not coming, that night she disappeared from their home. Agatha Christie disappeared. The following morning, her car was discovered, parked by a chalk quarry with an expired driving license and clothes inside, but she was nowhere to be found. This mystery traveled the globe. Her disappearance was even featured on the front page of the New York Times. Despite the extensive manhunt, volunteers from all over, she could not be found. It wasn't until 10 days later that she was located at the Swan Hydropathic Hotel in Yorkshire, which was about 184 miles from her home. So that's quite a trek. And she was registered as Mrs. Tressa Neal, which is the same last name as her husband's mistress, which is odd. Yes. After she was discovered there, she left for her sister's house where she was sequestered. No one could talk to her, etc. So there's a lot of mystery behind that time she disappeared for those 10 days. How did she get there? Did she plan it? Did she have a complete nervous breakdown? Right? What really happened? In her autobiography, she makes no reference to the disappearance at all. The two doctors diagnosed her with an unquestionable, genuine loss of memory. Yet opinion remains divided over the reason for her disappearance. Was she, having a nervous breakdown? Was she going to plot against her husband? There's all these wild theories, right? So maybe we can look into that a bit. Was it a publicity stunt, right? Or was it a stunt to frame her husband for her own murder, right? There's all kinds of theories out there, especially with her background in writing these kinds of stories. So finally, in October of 1928, their divorce was finalized completely, and her ex-husband Archie, married his mistress a week later. I mean, that's like really, that must have been a bit of a uncomfortable situation. But Agatha did retain custody of the daughter, but she kept the surname Christie for her writing. She didn't want to lose that momentum she had under the name of Agatha Christie. Reflecting on the period in her autobiography, Agatha wrote, "So after illness came sorrow, despair, and heartbreak. There is no need to dwell on it." I guess she didn't really want to talk about it in her autobiography. In 1928, she left England and took the Orient Express to Istanbul and Baghdad. In Iraq, she became friends with an archaeologist, Leonard Woolley, and his wife, who invited her to return to their dig in February of 1930. On that second trip, she met an archaeologist named Max Mallowan, 13 years her junior. Hey. When he first met her, he took her with a group of tourists on an expedition in a site in Iraq, and they just fell head over heels. They were married that same year. They met in 1930 in February, and they were married in September. And their marriage lasted until she passed away in 1976. So that seems to be a nice relationship there. And a lot of her, she wrote Murder on the Orient Express, and she took the Orient Express to go on this archaeological dig. So all these, I just love how you see her world she observed crafted into her books. She accompanied him on many of his archaeological expeditions, and her travels with him contributed background to several of her novels. Yes, just as I said. And she drew on her experience of international train travel when writing 1934 Murder on the Orient Express. During World War II, she worked in the pharmacy at the college hospital in London, where she updated her knowledge of poisons, which is what a lot of the murders in her books were poison instead of like a knife or something like that. So she she worked with one of the chief pharmacists there and would ask him questions, constantly asking him questions about that. So she's just like this fascinating person. So obviously she has tons of accolades, while she was here and after she left. A funny one, this is a strange one. The British intelligence agency, M15 at the time, investigated her because they thought something in one of her books, one of the characters, Major Belchley, was something that she shouldn't have known about, but she said that it was just random and nothing came of it. So I guess she was so clever. She was solving things that they thought she knew about. As I said, her husband became a knight for his work. He was knighted by the Queen and for his archaeology work. And so now she is also called Lady Malouin. In 1971 to 74, her health began to fail, but she tried to keep writing. Her last novel was Postern of Fate in 1973. They also think around that time she may have started to develop Alzheimer's and or dementia. In 1974, she had a heart attack and a serious fall, at which point she was no longer able to write. She died peacefully on January 12th, 1976, at age 85 from natural causes. It is estimated that her books have sold over 300 million books in her lifetime.
Wow.
Wow.
At the time of her death in 1976, she was the best-selling novelist in history. She is regularly referred to as the Queen of Crime or the Queen of Mystery and is considered a master of suspense, plotting, and characterization. She was named Best Writer of the Century. With other accolades that follow, the list is long. In 2018, Guinness World Book of Records listed her as the best-selling fiction writer of all time. As of 2020, her novels have sold more than 2 billion copies in 44 languages.
Wow.
Yeah. In 2015, her estate claimed that the book And Then There Were None was the best-selling crime novel of all time with approximately 100 million sales, making it one of the highest-selling books of all time. So, Agatha Christie, a huge selling author. Huge. I don't know. I don't know if I knew that. I don't think I did. I didn't know the magnitude. I know that everybody knows Agatha Christie, the name, and some of her books. But huge. And for a woman, that's spectacular.
Yeah.
And not an easy life, even though she was born into money, as we see with some of the ladies we do read on. Wasn't easy. Her father passing away, trying to find her way, writing some stuff, getting rejected. She kept going. And then the thing with her husband, her first husband, didn't seem so great.
So was the timing of her trying to get those through, was she battling against the Mansfield in that, like, were people still using, women still using men's name to get
She was going under a man's name at the time.
Okay.
Which she eventually dropped and kept her own name. And she finally found one publisher. I believe he just helped her finesse sort of how the mystery was built. And I guess it made it a little bit more exciting or something like that. And then it started to be published.
Yeah.
But they credit her with that sort of style of writing, the way she would set up a story where it was seemed like impossible. How could this crime have happened? And then she would just show through the magic of her writing how it was possible.
Yeah, because she was kind of pinpointing this not using her name, but I didn't know that was, I didn't know that of her. I didn't know that she tried to publish with a man's name, but she brought that in. She said that wasn't, that was an issue back then. I think she was bringing that in because she understands our show.
Yeah.
And how it was, you know, so she was trying to pinpoint that. In 1926, that incident, she very clearly said it was genuine grief.
Mm.
It was genuine, deep grief that caused that kind of break, or for her not to be in her right mind. She was like in a she kind of described it as this like dreamy, weird state of mind, and you're just literally making these decisions, and she's kind of watching herself do these things
Out of body. Yeah.
out of body.
Yeah.
And genuine, it was like she was already broken from her mom, and then this, so there was a lot of things all at once, but it was genuine grief. And she was blindsided by her husband. She had this dreamy narrative of him, you know, like a fairy tale. It wasn't real, but that's what she had in her mind.
Which is what Kim was seeing in that picture, how happy.
Yeah.
And that's why it just broke her heart that he would.
Yeah. And Kim, you know, Kim says, I see her, you know, glowing, and she was, but I looked at him, I'm like, oh, he's no good. And I didn't know the story until you said it. I'm like, oh, he's no good. This will be interesting. You know what I mean? To see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's what he showed in his picture. And that's true to him. He just didn't have.
And she's saying he actually wasn't very good for her. She adored him.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of critical. He wasn't very he could be kind of dismissive and critical. And she was a little bit of as early in her life, she was a little bit of a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like it kind of worked into her life narrative of like, well, I like to improve myself, and, you know, I like to try to make people see me in a better light. So it kind of fed into her wanting to please, and him being kind of a impossible to please. And so it kind of fit for a while. So she's like, he actually wasn't great for me, but it broke her because she felt she tried so hard. That was the thing. It seems like she really felt like she gave it her all, and it didn't work. And it was a crushing blow. And I got the same thing, Debbie, that she kind of stumbled around in a haze. And it is like, I did think about suicide. Mm-hmm. I did think about throwing myself off a cliff. Mm-hmm. I thought about just running away. I thought it's like all of these ideas and you know, solution, you know, not really solutions, but solutions came to her. But she ultimately kind of came enough to her senses that she was kind of willing to go on, basically.
And if I just make my name the mistress name, then you know what I mean? It was like really in that state of
that. Yeah, that's just when you're gone and it's so stressed, and and they had a daughter. Plus, you can imagine that time divorce was frowned upon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she probably wondered how would she look in society as a divorced woman if she's trying to be this writer. You know, there was certainly a much more stigma for a woman to be divorced at the time than a man.
Right.
She also referred to herself as an intuitive empath.
I have a feeling she was really connected. I can see her as a little girl in her bedroom alone and almost really seeing something. Like she was very vivid imagination, and or she was connected and talking to something. I can see it in her room there.
I bet.
And just with her, with the empathy for her to be able to people watch and pick up all this stuff and then use it in her book, she'd have to be tapped in.
She's showing me her hands, constant ink or whatever. whatever she used, whether it was type, whatever, she always had something on her hands, ink, fingers from writing.
And she's saying that she could have either written the kind of things that she wrote, or she could have been a master criminal, because she's saying a lot of the ways that she worked her books out was, how would I get away with this? What would I do?
Wow.
And so she's like, I could have either been, I could have actually been like a master criminal probably, or just, write these ideas and these things down. And it was always, it was also very much escapism. She loved that world of trying to outmaneuver people, what people might think, or what the direction they might go. She goes this direction.
Yeah.
Really interesting way of looking at writing. It's almost a different way of looking at writing, is how she very much a pioneer in what she did. And
I got the shadow self card, so that's a little bit of that darker side of her. Like, how would I do this?
Right.
I was to do something like that. And I love that she talked to the pharmacist about poisons. And I think it wasn't until quite late that they figured out what some of the poisons were in one of her book, because somebody studied it to try to figure out what could have caused this.
Oh,
right.
And her very compassionate to help in the war, volunteer all that time, which again gave her great depth of character and understanding of the men she was helping, where they were from, how they would behave, what they, just really observe. She's a life observer, very observant little girl and woman.
Very. And I'm asking her a message for everybody. And she said, she just really, really sweetly says, don't give up. Don't give up. So I feel like it's not just don't give up in life, just don't give up, period, but also just what you want to do and what you're here to do and what you think you should be doing. Don't give up. Just keep plugging along, because there'll be people who want what you have. There'll be people that will support you. It's when you give up that you never figure out, could I have done this? Or, what could have been. So but it's really sweet the way she said it. Don't give up. So that's what she wants to say.
And same with her husband, throwing her life into complete chaos. Don't give up. Look how further she went after.
Right.
After she divorced him, life carried on. She met a wonderful man and all these wonderful things happened. So you can push through.
Yes.
She was telling me that time that that she spent at her sister's after she was found or whatever. She had some personal writings. I don't know anything about that, but she like did personal journaling at that point. I wonder if those are around.
Wow. Yeah, because apparently they cut off the phones and like nothing. No one could talk to her. No one could come there, because she clearly needed the headspace, right?
Well, at first it looks like they wouldn't allow her to even have a pencil. They wanted her to rest or whatever at the time. Like, you can't do anything. But then she's showing me like writing personal things to herself or whatever. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Find those. Maybe they were burned. But anyway, yeah. Wow.
She seems really cool. I like her energy. She's.
I do too. And she seems like it's interesting, for at least for me, the way she comes across as kind of a very nice person, but a very no nonsense person too. I feel like she really did grow and expand over her life. I feel like she started out one person, and unlike us all, we all kind of evolved, but I feel like her evolution was quite broad. I feel like she was kind of one person, maybe a little naive in the beginning of her life, and really grew into this very kind of world-wise kind of strong, determined woman. She really, there was a huge evolution for her in her life. Someone asked about advice for writers, and she just said to dig deep. She's saying a lot of times, that writing is a very exhausting activity, and it's a very exhausting process. And rather than get done quickly or get it over with or whatever, she's saying to do the opposite, dig deep, and go to those places that even you are a little bit afraid of. Go to those places, because great things come out of those places. It's almost like the shadow self. It's like visit that side, visit all parts of yourself when you're writing, because amazing things can come out of that. So that's what she says for writers.
Ooh, I love it. Yay. I'll take it.
I feel like she's a very layered woman, lots of experience, life experience, and lots of observation. I see her watching and listening to everyone, whether they know it or not, right? Listening to people on a train, just all of that, just observing life. She really liked to watch and listen to life. And
it's such a great way to learn, right? To observe and to listen. And I think there are plenty of people we can think of, probably, I don't know, in politics and things, who like to hear the sound of their own voice, right? And they know so very little. It really is empty vessels make the most noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to listen and to observe, you can learn so much about yourself and about everything around you. So I think I like that she brings that up to you, Andrea, because I think that's it's an undervalued, I think, skill, I guess, trait. It's undervalued, but it's so valuable to all of us.
And again, a huge shout out to her to being like biggest selling author of all time, or whatever all these accolades are. I mean, that's enormous. That's tremendous for anyone.
And opening to the doors to all little girls who have dreams and dream up fantastical stories in their head and write them down. So
like she didn't have one famous book and series of books.
And I can't tell you how many times I've been watching a movie and I'll be like, who's this written by? And every time it's like Agatha Christie. when it's like a murder mystery or something. We watched Then There Were None. There's a new version of that on PBS, and I'm watching it and thinking, this is brilliant. Who wrote this? Agatha Christie. Almost every time that happens, it's like, it's Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, good pick. And thank you for the...
Yes. Thank you to Follow Your Heart, one of our viewers who suggested.
Oh, Follow Your Heart. Okay. Thank you for that. Very cool.
Great. So I think you are next.
Okay.
Debbie.
All right. Let me.
So whenever you are ready.
Over. So my pick actually comes from, and I can't see my. Oh yeah. Okay. From this amazing book that I am reading, and Chris. One of the family here in the viewers sent to me, and this is called the Formidable American Women and the Fight for Equality by Elizabeth Griffith. I recommend it. It's a newer book here, and so it's in regards to American women and the fight for equality. 1920 to 2020. So she's in here. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm gonna. She kept calling out my name. So here she is, and her name is Anna Julia Cooper, and let me see. Yes, Anna Julia Hayward Cooper. awesome pictures.
Mhm.
Beautiful, beautiful woman. All right. So, all right, all right. I'm finding where to start here. On pages 24 to 25 of the most recent version of passport issued for United States citizens, one can find the words, "The cause of freedom is not the cause of race or sect, a party, or a class. It is the cause of humankind and the very birthright of humanity." These words belong to scholar, activist, and feminist Anna Julia Cooper, and they are but a slight glimmer of the shining legacy she established for herself. Cooper was born in August 10th, 1858, to Hannah Stanley Haywood. Her mother was enslaved by a wealthy Raleigh, North Carolina landowner, George Washington Haywood. Either Haywood or his brother was Anna's father. Until emancipation in 1865, she worked as a servant in the household of her father or uncle, just as her older brothers Andrew and Rufus did. Cooper was an extremely intelligent child, and in the wake of the freed persons benefits of the Reconstruction era, she received a scholarship to St. Augustine's Normal and Collegiate Institute at the age 9. The school's aim was to specifically to train teachers dedicated to advancement of former slaves. Thus, from a young age, she devoted herself to education and elevation of African Americans. Her mind was one of a rare breed. Cooper was a clear master of learning in both science and arts, excelling through her 14 years at the school to such a peak that she fought for and won the right from the administration to take high level courses rather than remaining in the ladies track. So Cooper began private tutoring and public instruction with St. Augustine's, which marked the beginning of decades of educational service. Sciences, arts, and music were not the only things Cooper learned there. It was with a classmate that she also studied love. In 1877, she married medical doctor George A.C. Cooper. Also provided a valuable proved a valuable instructor. George A.C. Cooper died 2 short years later. She never remarried, choosing to pour her love for humanity into a life of passionate service and activism. Her next great academic leap was to Oberlin College, where she pursued men's studies over the times society deemed appropriate for women. After a brief interlude of instructing at Wilberforce College, Cooper returned to Oberlin to complete a master's degree in mathematics, conferred upon her in 1877. Wherever she happened to be, Cooper provided scholarly contributions to many of her intellectual fields of interest. Upon moving to Washington, D.C., Cooper began teaching at M Street High School, later becoming principal in 1901. There, she experienced personal growth into feminism and political activism. Not only did she develop a close personal friendship with Charlotte Grimke, but she also published her first book in instructive and passionate political treatise of Black feminism. A Voice from the South, one of her books, A Voice from the South by a Black woman of the South, is powerful, compelling, and foundational. This work established Cooper not only as an activist, but also in the minds of her later scholars as the mother of Black feminism.
Wow.
Yeah. In this treatise, she advocated for self-determination and self-improvement, specifically of Black women, as she believed they were vital to the progress of Black communities. She knew and argued that intellectual and physical communities were incomplete without the perspectives and voices of Black women. Her essays explored the difficult and multi-layered circumstances of race, gender, racism, class, economics, religion, and society in post-Civil War America. After the publication of A Voice, Cooper spoke and presented essays at several high-profile activist conferences, including World Congress of Representative Women and the first Pan-African Conference in London in 1900. You know, when I'm reading this, you think it's like this present-day person, right? Holy cow. Middle age did nothing to slow Cooper down. At the age of 56, she started work on a doctoral thesis at Columbia University.
Excellent.
Yeah. At 57, her sister-in-law died, and she adopted all 5 of her half-brother's children.
Oh.
Yep. She devoted as much care to the children as she did to her own continuing education. By 1925, she at last defended her thesis, The Attitude of France on the Question of Slavery between 1789 and 1848, and was conferred a doctorate of philosophy by the University of Paris Sorbonne. This made her the 4th African-American woman in history to earn a PhD. Cooper remained vibrant and dedicated to her causes throughout the rest of her life. She continued to write activist treatises, autobiographies, and a biography of her friend Charlotte Grimke. After 105 years amazingly spent, Dr. Anna Julia Cooper died on February 27th, 1964. She overcame every possible obstacle of her time and never allowed her brilliance to be diminished, even by her most vocal detractors. She's the only woman memorialized in the United States passport, and several learning institutions carry her name, including a tuition-free private school in Richmond, Virginia, called the Anna Julia Cooper Episcopal School, and the Anna Julia Cooper Center on Gender, Race, and Politics in the South, established at Wake Forest University. Cooper knew that she had a powerful voice and that she could use it to change the world. So she died at 105 years old in her sleep. And I wanted to leave us with one of her, she has many quotes, you guys, so if you want to look up quotes by Anna, please do. But I wanted to leave us with this one. It is not the intelligent woman that it is not the intelligent woman, the ignorant woman, nor the white woman, the black, the brown, and the red. It is not even the cause of woman versus man. Oh, that's what the V is. Sorry. Let me start over. I read it correctly earlier. Sorry, guys. It is not the intelligent woman versus the ignorant woman, nor the white woman versus the black, the brown, and the red. It is not even the cause of a woman versus a man. Nay, 'tis woman's strongest vindication for speaking that the world needs to hear her voice. So, yeah, you guys will have to go back and read that one on your own since I slayed it. Destroyed it.
Very great.
Anyway, she has many, many quotes, but I thought that was a good one.
She's wonderful.
Right.
I love her.
Beautiful woman.
Yes. Great picture.
Again, you think that you're reading about, you think you're reading about someone who's, I mean, she literally was born in bondage, right? So, and then when they were, after the war and they were free, look what she did with that.
And at 56 went for another degree. Wow.
Yeah.
I love the picture of her when she's younger sitting down. I can't stop looking at that photo.
I know.
I don't know what it is, but there's just something, I'm so drawn to that photo.
It's me too. It's the one they have in the book. It's the same one. Yeah. And I'm just like, whoa. It just, the look.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and she says that she carried, she didn't want to let, she felt a, I don't know how you put this. She didn't ever want to let anyone down before her. So she really carried, it's like she carried everyone with her, with everything she did. It gave her, the will to keep going, to keep trying, to keep going one more step above what she did. It's kind of like, but she's, it's almost like her ancestors were at her back, is how she's kind of making it feel. And she felt that, like, I don't want to let anybody down. I want to do every single thing that I can, that I'm capable of. So yeah, she felt them with her, accompanying her every step of the way. And there was also this kind of responsibility she felt to them. It's beautiful the way she's explaining it. It really was a joint effort in a lot of ways. She didn't really ever feel alone, because she was accompanied by people before her that did not have the ability to do what she did, or the opportunity to do what she did, the whatever. She was carrying that, and she knew it, and
very precious.
Kept her going.
Very precious to her, because she knows what happened before, and they wouldn't have had opportunities.
Right.
And I love that she's fighting for the female voice to be heard. All of our voices to be heard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every female's voice. And a card I got for her is so perfect. It says shine.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, don't dim your light. The world needs your unique talents and gifts. Shine brightly. I mean, hello. That's what she's saying to all of us women. Like, our voices need to be heard. Don't let anyone dim. How many times have we said that? Or don't let other people describe who you are or what your life is, or, don't be held down or held back. That's messages we keep getting often in this show. And again, just shine. Don't be held back. And she totally shine. I can't stop looking at that photo. I don't know what's going on. There's some other energy in there with her. Maybe her ancestors are standing.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that, Andrea. There's something about that it's
magnetic.
Yeah. It's almost as if there are many faces in there, in that one piece. There are many souls peering out.
Yes,
something like that. I totally get it.
Wonderful. It's so striking. It's perfect. She's wonderful. My goodness, I love her energy, her vibration. And I feel she's very quiet and dignified. I don't feel like she raised her voice to get her point across. Very quiet and dignified, and and always correct. Whatever she was saying was right.
Right. And I think she loved life as well. I think she really saw it as a gift. I think she really, really did.
Yeah,
And there are a lot of, when you have a lot of, especially early trauma and early, things that happen really early, it's very easy and understandable to want to just crawl into your shell and think life is horrible. I don't want to do this.
mm-hmm.
But she really, I think she really felt it was a gift that she had the ability to make something of her life and do what she mold it in the way she wanted to mold it. I think she really saw it as a gift. It feels like she loved her life. She really, really did.
It's interesting. Both Anna and Agatha had that love go from their first husband. Well, she didn't remarry, Anna didn't, but that they had a real ability to love deeply.
Mm-hmm.
I think that speaks a lot about them.
Absolutely.
And she said she saw that door and ran through it and never looked back. Right. So when with the opportunity to go to school when she was little, and the there was freedom to do these things. They were no longer enslaved, although we know that's not totally true. Mm-hmm. However, she bolted out that door and never looked back. She her connection to her mom, like I don't know, but from what I'm getting from her, it was an inspiration to her. I don't know if, because I'm not seeing that they were, connected later in life, or what happened there at all, because I don't see her, but she kind of looks to her direction. So somehow her mom was an inspiration to her, as well. So I don't, so maybe some shared communication that they had when she was young or whatever really gave her some strength and ability of who she was. She kind of gives that ode to her mom.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I keep hearing, we are one woman. We are one woman. I keep hearing her say that. So, something to think about. We are all one woman. What can we do to help each other? Support each other, champion each other.
Mm-hmm.
We're one. If one's down, we're all down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of like a little bit like that quote. It's not us versus. It's not versus.
Right.
Versus.
Right.
It's.
We're one. She's wonderful, Debbie. Yeah. What an excellent.
I'm blown away. I'm just.
And again, how are we not taught these things?
Why isn't she in the main history books that we had? I'm telling you, I mean, what am I even doing? Like, Andrea always brings up, oh my God, I'm happy I woke up today. I mean, she just blows my mind what she accomplished.
Didn't stop, and then went to 105 as well. And I bet she was making people feel lovely in her final years. I bet she made. I can just see her. You see her face. You just know whoever she's talking to felt wonderful.
Yeah.
And so someone, because we all have a certain amount of privilege that we're born with, and someone who was born without any privilege, look what she accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Look what she overcame. I feel like I still have time. I guess I'll.
right? So when you think, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that, like we really have so much compared to
So
what
much.
Right.
these women have that we review each week. Like we see the difficulties, some more than others, but they all have a story and you can push through. I think don't give up, right?
No,
Yeah.
exactly. Don't give up.
So Chris is asking why she wasn't taught here in the USA. I'm sure that she wasn't able. They weren't allowed. She wasn't allowed to at the time.
Has she come back, or is she going to come back?
I don't see that
I
she's.
don't feel she's back. I
don't see that she's come
You're
back.
being from the other side to sort of watch over us to help us.
Yeah, she's
Like
definitely.
gather is what I hear. Gather together, right? That sort of we are one. How are we? Can we? Women gather is what I hear.
She will come back, but there's a point in which she's choosing. There's a choice here of what she's coming back to do. So she will come back.
Yeah, amazing. What an amazing lady.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
Great
Anna.
choice. Yeah, well, thank you.
Hey, Anna, thank you.
Amazing. All right, so I guess I'm up. So let me get sorted here. Alrighty. So my choice was, or is, I guess I should say, Katherine Dunham. Who is this sassy lady? This is Katherine Mary Dunham. She was born on June 22nd, 1909 in Chicago. And her father was Albert Millard Dunham. He was a descendant of slaves from West Africa and Madagascar. Her mother was Fanny June Dunham. And she was, this is what she says, that she was Indian, French, Canadian, English, and probably African ancestry. But she died when Katherine was only 4 years old. So she did not know her very well. She did have an older brother, Albert Jr., whom she was very close to. And after her mother died, her father left the children with an aunt in Chicago's South Side at the time. And the South Side of Chicago is experiencing the Great Migration at the time. A lot of Black Southerners were attempting to escape the Jim Crow law South and the poverty there. And they were moving to places like Chicago. And at that time, of course, there was the white flight, which was white people leaving Chicago because they were having there was more diversity there and they couldn't handle it, basically. So they left. We're going other places. And her aunt, Lulu's business, because of the white flight, it really suffered. And so it closed as a result. And this led to a custody battle over Katherine and her brother. It was brought on by the maternal relatives. And this meant that neither of the children were able to really settle into a home for several years. However, after her father remarried, Albert Sr., he and his new wife came back and claimed the children, and they all got back together as a family. And they moved to a predominantly white neighborhood in Joillet, is that right? Joillet, Illinois. And there her father ran a dry cleaning business. And Dunham became very interested in both writing and dance, and at a very young age. And in 1921, a short story that she had written when she was 12 years old called Come Back to Arizona was published in volume 2 of the Brownie book. Or the Brownies book, yeah. She graduated from, I think that's, maybe somebody can tell me how to pronounce it, but I think it's Joillet. Is that right? Joillet. Central High School in 1928. And there she played baseball, tennis, basketball, and she ran track. So very gifted mentally, very gifted physically. And she served as vice president of the French Club and was on the yearbook staff. And in high school, she joined the Terpsichorean Club and began to learn a kind of modern dance. And this would kind of be part of where she goes with her career. And the modern dance was based on the ideas of the Europeans. And it also had African stylings as well. And so it was kind of a mixture. It was very new. And at the age of 15, she organized the Blue Moon Cafe, which was a fundraising cabaret to raise money for Brown's Methodist Church in Cholet, where she gave her first public performance.
Joliet.
Joliet. Okay, thank you. So she then attended the University of Chicago in Durham. And Durham also performed as a dancer and ran a dance school as well. Of course, doesn't have enough to do, so why not run a dance school as well? And earned an early bachelor's degree in anthropology. Receiving a fellowship, she went to the Caribbean to study dance and ethnography. She later returned to graduate school and submitted a master's thesis in anthropology. And she did not complete the other requirements for that degree. However, she realized that her professional calling was performance. So at the height of her career in the 1940s and 50s, Dunham was renowned throughout Europe and Latin America and was widely popular in the United States. The Washington Post called her dancer Catherine the Great. For almost 30 years, she maintained the Katherine Dunham Dance Company, the only self-supported American Black dance troupe at the time. And over her long career, she choreographed more than 90 individual dances. Dunham was also an innovator in African-American modern dance, which we kind of talked about, and as well as a leader in the field of dance anthropology and ethnochoreology. She also developed the Dunham technique, a method of movement to support her dance works. She also became an activist. And this is in that picture where she's an older lady, the age of 80, that's when she's in her 90s. But at the age of 83 in 1992, Dunham went on a highly publicized hunger strike to protest the discriminatory U.S. foreign policy against Haitian boat people. Time reported that she went on a 47-day hunger strike to protest the U.S.'s forced repatriation of Haitian refugees. Of Haitian refugees. My job, she said, is to create a useful legacy. During her protests, Dick Gregory led a nonstop vigil at her home where many disparate personalities came to show their respect, such as Debbie Allen, Jonathan Demme, Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam. Wow. You can kind of, you can think what you want about him, but that's, they were all very thankful and respectful of what she was trying to do. This initiative drew international publicity to the plight of the Haitian boat people and U.S. discrimination against them. Dunham ended her fast only after exiled Haitian President Jean-Bertrand Aristide and Jesse Jackson came to her and personally requested that she stop risking her life for this cause. In recognition of her stance, President Aristide later awarded her a Medal of Haitia's highest honor. She received many awards for all of the work she did through her life, but just a few. In 1971, she received a Heritage Award from the National Dance Association. In 1979, at Carnegie Hall, she received the Albert Schweitzer Music Award for a life's work dedicated to music and devoted to humanity. In 1983, she was a recipient of the highest artistic award in the United States, the Kennedy Center Honors. And in 1986, the American Anthropological Association gave her a Distinguished Service Award. So a diverse, her resume, what is it? It's like, it's so diverse and so amazing. And it's one of these things too, where I kept thinking, and she did have 2 marriages, not very long marriages, no children. She, as I kind of researched her and looked at her, she kept telling me in my mind's ear that she was a very stubborn lady. She was a very stubborn lady. And so she's like, in her work, it was great. In her personal life, it wasn't so great. It was hard to live with, but for her work and what she wanted to accomplish, she really, really put her whole heart and soul into those things. And I wanted to see, I didn't write down her when she passed away. But she, once again, these pictures, you can see at every age, that something quite determined in her eyes, in her face.
Every single one, and the smile too, that same.
Yes. It's kind of like, don't mess with me. I'm going to do everything I can and don't mess with me at the same time. But she died at the age of 96 in 2006 in New York City. Choreographer, author, educator, activist. She did write an autobiography. But she's just amazing and an amazing lady. I was really struck by her hunger strike so late in her life.
Yeah.
In your 80s, you're kicking back, right? You're looking at a life well lived, and you're just happy to be in your 80s, and at least that's where I would be. And
right, and you eat your little ice cream every night if you want to, and you're.
Yeah. And here she is seeing something she felt was completely unjust, unfair, unwarranted, and she did the only thing I think she felt she could. She used her body, which had always been her instrument, in her life. It served her so well, and put that on the line to say, this is not okay. This is not fair. It's quite something.
She is amazing. And she's so, stunning. And those eyes, right? So I also see a very playful woman and some mischief there.
Yes,
but
exactly.
very sharp. I know nothing's getting by her, right? She's noticed everything.
Very sharp.
Very observant person. A lot of empathy, I feel, with her. Having the gift of empathy.
And she's saying too, she was very always extremely outspoken, and felt that it was her duty to speak up. Even to me, it even seems like just in conversation, like they're talking about politics or something like that, and she didn't agree, she would speak up and say, I don't agree with that. She had no a real ingrained bravery. It's just like and a real understanding of the fact that she had power over her own words and what she thought, and by God, she was going to,
Yeah.
she was gonna, use it. She wasn't gonna waste it or keep it hidden or not say because it might be, it's controversial or somebody might not like it or they don't want to hear it. She was very aware of her power and she was not afraid to use it.
And she's saying with that too, Kim, that she's like, I'm not responsible for you feeling uncomfortable from what I did. Yeah. When the truth needs to be spoken, I she was going to say it whether it made you comfortable or not. It's not her responsibility how you feel, but it's her responsibility to bring in the truth. And she's hoping that her legacy is encouraging to others to be strong and speak the truth and live truth. Don't shrink back because you're worried about whether people are going to think. Mm-hmm. She's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, the card I got for her, I got balance.
Mm-hmm.
So what you were saying with truth, that I can see the scales of justice. So she wanted things to be balanced and fair, but this is also a water card, which to me would represent emotions. She kept her emotions in check, in balance. She was able not to throw her emotions into a conversation. She was using intellect and the gravity of the words she was saying, but not throwing, how everyone can get emotional when they're talking, but she was very careful to stay balanced because she wanted to make sure people would hear her and not just a shout, right? She wanted you to hear her words.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She's really great too. I love her.
All these women. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
So great.
And all very different energies. I mean, all very strong and very, but especially with the last, the Katherine that we're talking to now and Anna that we just spoke to. Anna felt, like you said, very much like very dignified lady. There's something about Katherine that is very kind of earthy and outspoken. She was, to me, and I feel like Katherine, she was always very like well read and up on what was going on in the world. Very always very aware of current events. You would never catch her off guard saying, well, what do you think about this or what do you think about that? She knew, and she also had an opinion. She knew what her opinion was. Very well informed, I guess is what I want to say. Very well informed and not afraid to give her opinion at all.
Well, yeah, because it was informed. She's
popular. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She could back up her opinion with some facts or figures, whatever it was. She wasn't just, again, not throwing emotion in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being more factual and clear with what she was saying. But not rude, just like, hey, this is what I think and this is why. And she's thinking also, why can't I say it if I'm a woman? Again, we're getting all three of them, their voices. One's a writer, right. But again, had to disguise as a man at first, but then was able to, like, why can't we have a voice?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Great.
Yeah, has quite a but it's interesting, these women that at least to me they felt very, very different. All brave in their own way and all definitely, I mean, powerhouses in their what they chose to do in their life, the careers they chose and the things that they did, but very different, because I feel like with there was something that I feel like Anna and Katherine were kind of almost like born into them. There's something about this kind of like stick-to-itiveness and this, but with Agatha Christie, I feel like there was a real growth over her life. She didn't start out that tough, you know.
Yep.
And so it's almost like there were points where she could have gone either way, but
Yep.
she persevered. And I feel like that's why when she said, don't give up, that's what she's talking about. Don't give up on finding out who you can be in the next chapter. Don't let yourself down. Because she was a real evolution, I feel like. But these two other ladies, I felt there was something in them from the start that was just like, I'm here to get stuff done.
I totally agree. I see Agatha's life as a series of shifts that,
yes,
I would call them awakening moments. Yeah, and with the other two, they came in with that, with kind of
some kind of fire that was just there.
And again, Katherine, hunger strike, 86. What?
I mean, that's
amazing.
Yeah,
what a
because
strong woman.
And again, she had a great life and a great legacy already, right? She had this great, all the things she had done and all the teaching and all of everything that she had done in her life, and yet saw an injustice and thought, what can I do at 80 years old? And oh, I know. Right. It's just, I mean, amazing. But that's when she said to me, I did have a stubborn streak, and it could be really, really good and things like that. It could be really, really positive in different points in my life, but especially for something like that, where you need to prove a point. She was not going to give up. And I do feel like those, was it Lewis or who was, I can't remember who went there to talk to her, Jesse Jackson and somebody else, but that really was, they really had to talk her into stopping. She was not going to stop. She intended to just keep going, because that was her, but she decided to kind of, to listen and to stick around for, another, 10 years or,
Wow. Yeah.
She was in her 90s when she passed away, but yeah.
And again, to those people who say, oh, I'm too old. Well, there's nothing left for me. Or, I'm retired. She's 86, picking up the fight at 86. Right. Mm-hmm. And also when people think, oh, it's just me, what can one person do? Well, we can see what one 86-year-old could do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's so inspiring. I mean, I don't recommend anyone starving themselves, but what we see is the strength of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
I got goosebumps on that. The strength of the individual woman and how strong we can be collectively.
Right.
Wow.
And using her body as her instrument of speaking to the world, basically, through whether it's through protest and a hunger strike, or through her dance and education and that kind of thing. I mean, brilliant ladies this week.
Yes. Thank you.
We all feel inspired now.
Yes, we all feel inspired.
I mean, like you said, Andrea, it's not over. We got things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly. And I think that's the point of this. The point of this of Ladies' Night is not to say, they did all that. Now, what have you done?
What are we doing? What are you
really
doing?
is, because they're all so different, and even tonight, they're all so different. Some learn along the way and have strides and pitfalls, and others are just pure, perseverance. And every woman has a story of their own. And so let your story unfold and do it the very best that you can,
That's your story.
That's part of the point, right?
That is absolutely beautiful, Kim. Your story. Let your story shine, whatever it is.
Right.
Strong. These women, they didn't give up. They pushed through. You can push through. We can all push through.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we do this, right? To gather together and to inspire each other and help each other to whatever you are working on or what you want to do or you know what you're going through right now. You're trying to get to the other side of whatever is happening right now. That's, you know, it's all this it's a constant, we're all warriors in our own way. You know, we're all fighting some kind of push through, whether it's the latest project or you know the next chapter or whatever, illness, family, blah 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 blah, blah. I mean, so much, yeah. Whatever that
We're
is,
friends, the whole thing. Just like, I think that's a really good bonding. Know that we are all in this together, and energetically we're all supporting each other.
That's
yes.
right.
Whatever.
Lincoln in.
Yeah.
Lincoln.
Yeah. I love your shirt, Debbie. Could you show that to everybody, please?
Yeah.
I love that too.
Incredible.
It says vote, and this is a broken gun in half, and then you have the uterus, and then you have the rainbow flag. So it has it all in there.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
I love that. I love that.
Chris Ingram.
Perfect shirt.
I know. It was the weirdest thing too. I had seen the shirt and I had put it in my in the, you know how I clicked on it and put it in the basket, and then I got waylaid and I closed it out, and then I went to San Diego for 2 weeks and came back, and I had a couple packages and opened. I'm like, I don't remember. That's weird. I thought, I'm like, did it go through? And I didn't even push. It was still in the basket, and here it is. That's so weird. And then Chris told me she got it from me.
Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
So that was fun. We're on the same page.
And Tony Stokes, it says, Agatha, let me see. Agatha's the world's best-selling author. Anna working on a doctorate at 56, and Katherine being an activist at 86.
There you go.
Yeah, it's amazing, amazing. Three ladies all just doing their thing, right? That's all we can do. That's awesome.
Very inspirational.
Well, thank you, everybody. And I think we're off 1 week, right? Because I'm going to be out of town. I think, and then whose channel is the
And we'll
next?
be on my channel. So
It'll be,
2 weeks from tonight, we'll be on my channel with 3 more wonderful women and their stories and how they can help us learn or be inspired. I feel like reinvigorated, honestly. This every Monday night I say, because Monday you're kind of like, okay, Monday, you know. But by the end of this show or during the show, I'm just like, yes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Right.
Like, let's
No,
get the week, everybody. Let's just consume the week. Let's take a bite out of life, right?
Exactly.
Let's do it.
So inspirational. So yeah. Or just pick up an Agatha Christie novel and just start reading it. Yeah.
Or watch a movie.
She's all about, yeah, or watch a movie. Exactly. Get inspired that way. Yeah, they're awesome. So, all right. So we'll see you in a couple weeks on Andrea's channel. And tomorrow, I have Thursday Night Live this week. I'm on with Debbie Friday. What are you doing, Andrea? Are you doing your 45?
I'm not sure, but I know on Wednesday night I'm going to be on Tarot Love Community, and it's movie night, and the movie's going to be Galaxy Quest. So if you've ever seen Galaxy
I love that movie. Oh my god!
I was looking at the movie through sort of this lens, like a spiritual lens, and sort of, you know, or what I just think
that's awesome,
isn't it? So
Yeah,
that's a perfect movie for right now. And I'm going to have the information if anybody wants to take a class from Debbie and I. We're doing 3 weeks, I think. We start our next round, so that'll be in the chat. So, or in the description.
There's 3 choices, so yeah, check them out.
All right, guys. See you later. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.